Madoc, also spelled Madog, Owain Gwynedd was, according to folklore, a Welsh prince who sailed to America in 1170, over 300 years before Christopher Columbus's voyage in 1492. According to the story, he was a son of Owain Gwynedd, and took to the sea to flee internecine violence at home. The Madoc story legend evidently evolved out of a medieval tradition about a Welsh hero's sea voyage, to which only allusions survive. However, it attained its greatest prominence during the Elizabethan era, when English and Welsh writers wrote of the claim that Madoc had come to the Americas as an assertion of prior discovery, and hence legal possession of North America by the Kingdom of England. The Madoc story remained popular in later centuries, and a later development asserted that Madoc's voyages had intermarried with local Native Americans, and that the Welsh-speaking descendants still live somewhere in America. These Welsh Indians were credited with the construction of a number of landmarks throughout the Midwestern United States, and a number of white travelers were inspired to go and look for them. The Madoc story has been the subject of much speculation in the context of possible pre-Columbian transoceanic contact. No conclusive archaeological proof of such a man or his voyages has been found in the New or Old World. However, speculation abounds connecting him with certain sites, such as Devil's Backbone, located on the Ohio River at 14 Mile Creek near Louisville, Kentucky. Story: Madoc's purported father, Owain Gwynedd, was a real king of Gwynedd during the 12th century and is widely considered one of the greatest Welsh rulers of the Middle Ages. His reign was fraught with battles with other Welsh princes and with Henry II of England. At his death in 1170, a bloody dispute broke out between his heir Howell the Poet Prince and Owain's younger sons Maelgwn, Rhodri, and led by Dafydd. Two, the children of the Princess Dowager christened Ferch Gromwy and one the child of Gladys Ferch Clywach. Owain had at least 13 children from his two wives and several more children born out of wedlock but legally acknowledged under Welsh tradition. According to the legend, Madoc and his brother were among them, though no contemporary record attests to this. The 1584 History of Cambria by David Powell says that Madoc was disheartened by this family fighting, and he and Rhyrd set sail from Llandrathlo in the Cantref of Rose to explore the Western Ocean with a number of ships. They discovered a distant and abundant land in 1170 where about 100 men, women and children disembarked to form a colony. According to Humphrey Lalwade's 1559 Chronicle Wallahi, Madoc and some others returned to Wales to recruit additional settlers. After gathering several ships of men, women and children, the prince and his recruiters sailed west a second time to that western country and ported in Mexico, never to return to Wales again. Madoc's landing place has also been suggested to be Mobile, Alabama, Florida, Newfoundland, Newport, Rhode Island, Yarmouth, Nova Scotia, Virginia, points in the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean including the mouth of the Mississippi River, the Yucatan, the Isthmus of Tehuantepec, Panama, the Caribbean coast of South America, various islands in the West Indies and the Bahamas along with Bermuda, and the mouth of the Amazon River. Quote, although the folklore tradition acknowledges that no witness ever returned from the second colonial expedition to report this, the story continues that Madoc's colonists traveled up the vast river systems of North America, raising structures and encountering friendly and unfriendly tribes of Native Americans before finally settling down somewhere in the Midwest of the Great Plains. They are reported to be the founders of various civilizations such as the Aztec, the Maya and the Inca. Welsh Indians. On 26 November 1608, Peter Wynne, a member of Captain Christopher Newport's exploration party to the villages of the Monacan people, Catawban speakers above the falls of the James River in Virginia, wrote a letter to John Egerton, informing him that some members of Newport's party believed the pronunciation of the Monacans' language resembled Welsh, which Wynne spoke, and asked Wynne to act as interpreter. The Monacan were among those non-Algonquin tribes collectively referred to by the Algonquins as Madog. Another early settler to claim an encounter with a Welsh-speaking Indian was the Reverend Morgan Jones, who told Thomas Lloyd, William Penn's deputy, that he had been captured in 1669 in North Carolina by a tribe of Tuscarora people called the Doeg. According to Jones, the chief spared his life when he heard Jones speak Welsh, a tongue he understood. Jones' report says that he then lived with the Doeg for several months preaching the gospel in Welsh and then returned to the British colonies where he recorded his adventure in 1686. The historian Gwyn A. Williams comments, "This is a complete farrago and may have been intended as a hoax. There is no evidence for there having been Doeg among the Tuscarora. Folk tradition has long claimed that a site called Devil's Backbone at Rose Island, about 14 miles upstream from Louisville, Kentucky, was once home to a colony of Welsh-speaking Indians." The 18th-century Missouri River explorer John Evans of Wainfawr in Wales took up his journey in part to find the Welsh-descended Paducas, or Madogways tribes. Early visitors referred to a rock formation on Fort Mountain in Georgia as a fort, speculating that it was built by Hernando de Soto to defend against the Muskogee around 1540. This theory was contradicted as early as 1917, as a historian pointed out that De Soto was in the area for less than 2 weeks. Archaeologists believe the stones were placed there by indigenous peoples. There is also a theory that the Welsh caves in De Soto State Park, northeastern Alabama, were built by Madoc's party, since local native tribes were not known to have ever practiced such stonework or excavation as was found on the site. In 1810, John Sevier, the first governor of Tennessee, wrote to his friend Major Amos Stoddard about a conversation he had in 1782 with the old Cherokee chief Okonostoto concerning ancient fortifications built along the Alabama River. The chief allegedly told him that the forts were built by a white people called Welsh as protection against the ancestors of the Cherokee, who eventually drove them from the region. Sevier had also written in 1799 of the alleged discovery of 6 skeletons in brass armor bearing the Welsh coat of arms. He claims that Madoc and the Welsh were first in Alabama. In 1824, Thomas S. Hind wrote a letter to John S. Williams, editor of the American Pioneer, regarding the Madoc tradition. In the letter, Hind claimed to have gathered testimony from numerous sources that stated Welsh people under Owain Gwynedd had come to America in the 12th century, over 300 years before Christopher Columbus. Hind claimed that in 1799, 6 soldiers had been dug up near Jeffersonville, Indiana, on the Ohio River with breastplates that contained Welsh coat of arms. Encounters with Welsh Indians. Thomas Jefferson had heard of Welsh-speaking Indian tribes. In a letter written to Meriwether Lewis by Jefferson on the 22nd of January 1804, he speaks of searching for the Welsh Indians said to be up the Missouri. The historian Stephen E. Ambrose writes in his history book Undaunted Courage that Thomas Jefferson believed the Madoc story to be true and instructed the Lewis and Clark expedition to find the descendants of the Madoc Welsh Indians. Mandans in all, at least 13 real tribes, 5 unidentified tribes, and 3 unnamed tribes have been suggested as Welsh Indians. Eventually, the legend settled on identifying the Welsh Indians with the Mandan people, who were said to differ from the neighbours in culture, language, and appearance. The painter George Catlin suggested the Mandans were descendants of Madoc and his fellow voyagers in North American Indians. He found the round Mandan bull boat similar to the Welsh coracle, and he thought the advanced architecture of Mandan villages must have been learned from Europeans. Supporters of this claim have drawn links between Madoc and the Mandan mythological figure, Lone Man, who, according to one tale, protected some villages from a flooding river with a wooden corral. Later writings, several attempts to confirm Madoc's historicity have been made, but historians of early America, notably Samuel Eliot Morison, regard the story as a myth. Madoc's legend has been a notable subject for poets. However, the most famous account in English is Robert Southey's long 1805 poem Madoc, which uses the story to explore the poet's free-thinking and egalitarian ideals. Fittingly, Southey wrote Madoc to help finance a trip of his own to America, where he and Samuel Taylor Coleridge hoped to establish a utopian state they called a pantisocracy. Southey's poem in turn inspired the 20th-century poet Paul Muldoon to write Madoc, a mystery, which won the Geoffrey Faber Memorial Prize in 1992. It explores what may have happened if Southey and Coleridge had succeeded in coming to America, to found their ideal state. In Russian, the noted poet Alexander S. Pushkin composed a short poem, Madoc in Wales, on the topic. John Smith, historian of Virginia, wrote in 1624 of the Chronicles of Wales reports Madoc went to the New World in 1170 A.D., with some men and women. Smith says the Chronicles say Madoc then went back to Wales to get more people and made a second trip back to the New World. Legacy. The township of Madoc, Ontario, and the nearby village of Madoc are both named in the prince's memory, as are several local guest houses and pubs throughout North America and the United Kingdom. The Welsh town of Porthmadog and the village of Tremadog in the county of Gwynedd are actually named after the industrialist and Member of Parliament William Alexander Maddox, the principal developer, and additionally influenced by the legendary son of Owain Gwynedd, Madog ab Owain Gwynedd. The Prince Madog, a research vessel owned by the University of Wales and P&Amp Maritime, set sail on the 26th of July 2001 on her maiden voyage. A plaque at Fort Mountain State Park in Georgia recounts a 19th-century interpretation of the ancient stone wall that gives the site its name. The plaque repeats Tennessee Governor John Sevier's statement that the Cherokees believed a people called Welsh had built a fort on the mountain long ago to repel Indian attacks. October 2015, the plaque has now been changed with no reference to Madoc or the Welsh. In 1953, the Daughters of the American Revolution erected a plaque at Fort Morgan on the shores of Mobile Bay, Alabama, reading, "In memory of Prince Madoc, a Welsh explorer who landed on the shores of Mobile Bay in 1170 and left behind with the Indians the Welsh language." The plaque was removed by the Alabama Park Service in 2008 and put in storage. Since then there has been much controversy in getting the plaque reinstalled.